down, hun. Welcome in to the Gotham City Rogues podcast. That's Jada Pinkett Smith. I'm Aaron Eckhart, and we're here to talk about House of the Dragon.
How do you spell that?
E
Just like,
C K H A R T. Because I did look
yes.
up how to spell it like an idiot when
Yeah,
I'm
he
just
thought he
saying
wasn't
it.
going to need it, but joke's on him. He did need to know how to spell it.
Well,
And
look
we're
at that.
glad he
All
looked
right,
it up.
well, glad I looked it up. Yes, I am Two-Face. That is, oh god, some terrible, terrible villain in Gotham Fish something.
There's something about that show. It's just like, kind of
Missed
okay.
the mark. Yeah, but like some of it just was
I know,
ridiculous. I
but
never
had to
finished
watch
it.
every
I
episode.
I got to go back and finish it because I never did, and I think that's okay. Maybe I'm not missing out on much. But we're here to talk
No.
about House of the Dragon, the HBO Max show. Their
Well, I'm watching
coach.
all that.
Ooh, yeah, it's a good show. We've got a lot going on in this one, especially the wedding. But we're gonna get to that. Coach, how are we feeling about the show? How are we feeling about these characters in this episode? What you got?
Yeah, it continues to fascinate me, the idea of this time skip stuff and sort of what we kind of get spoiled and what we kind of don't know. Like I felt like I knew all week that this was the last week of the young actresses. It sort of was pushed
It was, yeah,
everywhere,
they made
so
sure
you
it was
felt it.
known.
And
Yeah,
then,
but it's like a major bummer. Like I feel like next week's episode is gonna feel like a left letdown because I mean Rhaenyra especially. Allison's fine, but Rhaenyra's like such a solid main actress for this show, and then they're just kind of like moving on, and you can't go back to her really, unless they're gonna
I
be.
have faith. I have faith in the casting and stuff, but it did feel weird. It felt weird because like I knew that there was about to be a big time jump, which means I knew that like this episode was sort of setting up for a long future. But
Well, yeah, I mean we
I
can.
still
I
feel like
guess
it.
we can speculate a little bit, but it's pretty clear that the king's gonna die, and we're just gonna
Oh, he's
move
definitely
on
dead
to
before the next
yeah.
jump for sure.
Yep.
Um,
So Rhaenyra is going to be taking over with her cousin, Laenar.
is she though? Is she taking over?
I
Is
don't
do we?
see why not. I mean, do you really think that's going to get handed off to someone else at this point?
I don't know. We'll talk about it at the end.
Yeah.
I'll
Well, we
speculate
jump
what
in. This episode kind of kicks off a little bit weird with unknown characters. I was a little felt like I was like, what am I watching right now? And then we realized I was in the Vale, which is where Damon's wife is, and we finally met her. You know, Rhea is her
Yeah,
name.
told you. Joke's on you, dude. Super hot, just like I said we would be.
Yeah,
So
I'm
suck a butt.
surprised. I put that on my notes. I'm like, not ugly, so that's good. You know,
I'll do
he
it
the way he described her made it sound like she was just gonna be just a
Yeah.
disgusting human, and I
Turns out
guess
he's actually just an asshole whose cock doesn't work. So
is that what it is? Because it
that's
seems like he
definitely what it
uses
is.
it on the prostitute
No, I
in the
don't think he
first
does.
episode. I'm pretty
I
sure he
don't think he
did.
does. I don't. I think that's. No, I don't think so. Oh yeah, I swear it does show him having sex once and he
99% sure.
doesn't.
He definitely
Yeah,
was
episode one
banging
it
in the
shows him have
first
sex with us
episode.
once.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, maybe you can only get it up for certain people. I don't know, man. You never consummated the marriage, but yet he. We'll get to that. Everyone's saying that's like some sort of record, probably for Westerosi, where you get introduced to a character, and less than I think it was 2 minutes later, she's dead.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. I remember watching that scene, like, oh, this will be cool. Like, it'll be interesting to see that like rivalry. And then it hit me, like I said. And then I remembered, oh yeah, they're gonna do a big time jump. He's probably just gonna kill her right now. So I kind of talked myself into what was gonna happen based on what I knew. But she was really cool. I mean, talk about coming in and throwing a heater. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she's throwing it. She's just like attacking his manlyhood, attacking his just characteristics. He's attacking everything about him, just his character. She hated that guy, and you could tell.
I mean, I would say it's like Austin Eckler, but he's not like the full time starter, so that doesn't really work anymore. But I feel like that used to be him, just coming in, just throwing a heater, 2 catches, 36 yards and a touchdown.
I love me Austin Eckler. That's
That's
my
what they
guy
felt
right
like.
there. But that's not relevant to House of the Dragon and to the
Yeah,
four Los
it
Angeles
felt relevant.
Chargers fans out there. I'm one of you, so there you go.
And
They
none of
got
you
more.
show up to the games. Show up to the game, Chargers fans. What are you guys doing?
I would love to.
Uh,
If I lived in LA, I would go to plenty of games, but I don't. So here we
the
are.
way the way they did the kill itself, I thought was cool. I thought the idea
I
of
agree.
like scare the horse. Horse lands on her. Now she's sort of like paralyzed. I thought that was kind of
It
visually
also
cool.
sets up that everybody's like, I don't know about that, man, because she was known for being like a horseback rider, a
Yeah,
hunter, and being just well known for knowing what she's doing, and then all of a sudden she gets crushed by her horse. Like,
yeah. No one was ever gonna believe it, but it, especially in times like that,
I
if you're big and
liked
powerful, like what are you gonna
how he
do?
played it though. He didn't say anything. He was just intimidation factor, and he didn't even pull a weapon. The horse just freaked out based on the tension of the rider, and then he chose
Yeah,
that moment to flip the horse, which I don't really know if that's how horses work, maybe, but he managed to get her to fall to the ground and the horse to fall on top.
yeah. No, it wasn't the most realistic kill of all time, but it was visually cool. It was different. It's definitely a unique choice, so I was about it. Um, so in
Yep.
all, I think it was a good setup for this episode.
I'm glad we got rid of her, I guess. I mean, she would have been
Yeah.
an interesting little chess piece, but we don't have to worry about it anymore. Moving on, the hand replacement makes total sense. I had to look up his name because he's been mentioned, but it's Lord Lionel.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like him
yeah.
enough. He's a trusted advisor of the king, which is what the hand is supposed to be. This show is really just pushed forward the fact that almost all the hands are so dirty and political. It's a real bummer. I mean,
I
with the
mean, the king
exception
says
of
it. The king says it best in the
Stark.
previous episode, where it's just like, yeah, everybody's self-interested. Like you wouldn't be where you were if you weren't a little self-interested.
Yeah, we'll jump around a little bit, but I thought it was interesting that not only the hand replacement, I mean, he doesn't seem like he's being political, but then he has a son that is being political and like planting little lies and little birdie things here and there. He's a cripple of some sort, which that guy's going to be an important character. He's got to be, right?
I would think so. I think he's gonna be like a hated character. They're setting up Allison to sort of be the other villain going forward.
Are we okay with
It's
that? Do we like her? Is does it make more sense her being a villain? I'm for the most part I feel kind of indifferent about her. She's had a couple of like pretty decent scenes, but
I think I think for the most part, going forward, it's gonna feel like the Damon stuff is gonna be more of a direct, easy to like see coming villain for the show, and she gets to ride the political line a little bit. So I think that'll make it a little more interesting. I don't I don't know that I love it or not, but I think that it needed that. The show needs someone who like you could feel like is going to betray people at any time. The Allison and Kristen Cole stuff
yeah,
I
that
thought
was
was I didn't love it in this episode, but I loved knowing what it was setting up.
right.
If that makes sense.
It does, and I appreciated this episode because we got to see more of the universe. It feels like this show is almost self-contained to the Targaryen family for the most part, and in this episode specifically, we got to see a little bit more of the cousin's house, Lord Corlys' family, Valyrian.
Yeah, the Williams stuff that was. I still don't love him. I just kind of don't like him. I do like. So he has that weird little speech with the king where he kind of stands up to him and then gets pushed back and you know last names and all that stuff. But I thought it was an interesting conversation. Like that's the kind of
Yep,
stuff you just like. That's the interesting intrigue of royalty politics, if you will.
you gotta keep the last name. Yeah, I that was interesting that he's like they get to have the Valerian last name until they take the throne, and then they have to switch to Targaryen, which is
Which happens, yeah. I mean, that's pretty. I mean, that's what happens all over the place, right? I mean, every time there's a queen in England, she get her name gets changed to like Queen Elizabeth. You know what I mean?
or Queen Victoria or whatever. Yeah, it's weird stuff, man. I'll never understood the royal family stuff, and they seem to be adopting that phraseology at the very least for Game of Thrones, and it's super weird.
I
But
liked. I liked after that conversation. This is what I was trying to get at. I liked after that conversation when he was talking to his wife, the cousin, not Rhaenyra, but Rhaenyra,
Rhaenyra's,
whatever. They're way too close, and it pisses
Rhaenyra.
me off. Uh, but I liked after that when he had the conversation with her, he was like very humble. And he's like, "Did I push too hard? Did I kind of set?" Like, that's the kind of cool stuff. Where you're like, "Oh, that's like a real conversation that happens after these weird, dramatic
Well,
sort of tension
yeah,
building
because I
conversations."
mean, it was a ballsy move, Lord Corlys not even greeting the king, and they gave some like weak ass excuse, like he's tired, he just got back from his journey, and it was like very clearly just like blatant, not disrespect, but like making sure he knew his place, that like he wasn't going to be welcomed with open arms, even though he's the king of
Well, yeah,
Westeros,
but I
and
think
he made
it's
the
sort of
trip.
setting up. It was setting up that he knew that it was just as advantageous that Rhaenyra marries his son as it was that his son marries Rhaenyra. Like he understood that both sides needed it to happen. It's not like, oh, I'm so thankful that you're letting my son marry the princess. It was like you also need this,
Yeah,
and
fair. I
he knew
mean,
it.
it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, because the switching the actors in this instance was interesting because Lord Corley's son and daughter changed to older actors, but Rhaenyra is still the same actress that's been around for the whole show, and there is kind of a time jump. So I thought that was kind of odd.
I think they had him start so young was the idea. I don't know. I did like I like what the daughter became. Maybe he
I
should have
yeah,
married her back when she was 12.
I disagree with that sentiment, but she does seem like a cool character, and I'm excited to see her develop a little bit of flirtation with her and Damon a little bit later in the wedding. But really, the important thing is the king made the trip to visit them, showing that he needs it, like exactly what you said. They need each other, and they strike a deal. In the This is kind of the reason the king's already in rough shape, and then he takes this crazy long journey, which kind of puts him over the edge a little bit. So, in a way, him trying to match his daughter up kind of is leading to his dismay, in a way.
Yeah, it was the show setting up the whole time. I felt like it was pretty obvious the whole time that he was going to die
Well, yeah,
uh,
they tried to make that clear. At least almost
just in
every
time.
episode, they've hinted at his health. I thought he was going to die earlier, to be honest with you. And now that
I'm
we're
glad he made
here.
it all the way to seeing her get married off.
Yep.
I think that was the right
Not in the way we
decision.
wanted to see it, but
Yeah, I mean it was what it was. But that stuff's fine. I'm intrigued by all the different houses and their weird allegiances. I think Lannister, Mister what's his Jason over there, is
Jason
going to be
Lannister.
I think he's going to be an interesting character going forward. I'm
Yeah, he's
very
gonna
curious about his
be
weird
he's
smug
gonna
like.
be a tool, but he's gonna be like an interesting tool, so that's okay. It was weird that they kind of danced around later being gay, or at least saying gay to start with. Like you pick up on it, and then eventually it's finally revealed. But it was like,
Oh,
oh,
the
maybe different flavors of meat, or she's like, I always prefer lamb to duck, or whatever her weird comparison
yeah.
was. I liked it. It was interesting. It was I was like, seriously, the dad thinks he's gonna outgrow it. I thought that was hilarious. And then Rhaenyra suggested that they have an open marriage prior to them even
Hmm.
becoming married. So it's obvious to at least his cousin and possibly to more people within the realm, I imagine, that he is not interested in women at all. But this is a political marriage at the very
Yeah,
least.
which I think is. I don't know if the king knew, and I think maybe if the king had known, he would have had a little more leverage over him. But I don't think. I mean, ultimately, the king got what he wanted anyway.
That's true.
But it was interesting, and it's
Yeah, but
for a
Rhaenyra
moment it
can't
makes
pull
you
off.
think.
She can't pull off a Lannister where she hooks up with Kristen Cole because the kid is not going to look like how it's supposed to look unless she actually hooks up with her cousin. So that's
Yeah, well, they said
can't
that
get
though.
it over on him.
She
Yeah,
did say it. She said we would do our duty,
right. Yeah, no, I know,
and then after
100%.
that. But like you said, to your point, it's sort of the show makes you think for a second. There's a chance at the happy ending, right? Because the boyfriend
Yep.
of him is sort of like, hey, we get to be together, great, 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 and you're thinking like, oh, this is like
It was the
this is cool.
perfect plan. It was. I loved how they laid it out. I was like, oh,
Um,
this is gonna be so great. I'm really excited. And
and
then
then Kristen
Kristen
Cole,
Cole's some on some other nonsense. I mean, what's his face? Maybe I wrote his name down. I don't know. But the boyfriend was very much like, hey, I know what's going on. I don't know why he was being such a cocky asshole about it. He could have just like left it well enough alone, and Kristen Cole probably would have kept his temper, and the
well,
guy
because
wouldn't be dead.
I don't think Cole. I wouldn't you right. Like, why would Cole be so upset about it? It didn't
I don't
to
understand
him.
that
It doesn't make
at
any
all.
sense.
This episode made me dislike Kristen Cole, and I've done nothing but really like him for the first 4 episodes. I'm like, God, you're such a little bitch. That's how I feel about him in this episode. Like,
Yeah,
clearly, she's
but
not
if
gonna run off to Hoboken, Kansas, where the fuck they're gonna go to Essos, and live a life of being poor. She's not
it
gonna do
makes
that.
sense
She's
though.
got a
It makes
duty
sense
to
for
the
who he
realm.
is. It makes
Yeah,
sense for who the character they were
a
setting up for
pansy.
him as. She wouldn't love him if he wasn't that kind of person. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, I didn't love it either. I mean, but I think you're not supposed to. I think you're supposed to like now hate him and Allison working
I don't
together
know if I
after this.
full on
Going
hate
forward.
him, but he
I
lost
think you will.
points
I
to
think you will go
me.
forward.
Yeah. I mean, he's gonna be a pawn in the queen's. I don't know, plans against Rhaenyra a bit because he's got the secret and he's one of two people. Now there's only three people that know that she hooked up with Kristen Cole. So like
You know
that's
what's
gonna be
nonsense
manipulated.
though? It's her being just. I was so glad that she is growing up and she wasn't being manipulated by her dad, and good for her, and blah blah. And then her dad has one conversation, and she absolutely fucking
Caves.
tucks tail and caves like a tool.
Yeah, Allison has shown that she really doesn't have much of a spine, which sucks because it seemed like I was gonna like the character, but I mean, you need to dislike some characters, and
I mean,
Damon.
the king
is,
makes a good point that it is true that as long as her sons are alive, there will be people who want him to be king instead of Rhaenyra. But like
well,
as Damon would say, piss on those people. Why have a dragon so they can eat
yeah,
dogs?
what are you gonna do about it? Exactly. Allison questions Kristen Cole. He admits to the folly of sleeping with the princess. Naughty, naughty. And then we move on, get to see some more fucking dragons, which was badass. I love seeing dragons. That's what makes the show cool. And then we kind of transition into the wedding.
I do love when they just show dragons for no reason. They're just like, we haven't had a dragon in an episode. We'll just sort of fly around a little bit.
Yeah,
All right, there we go.
One note that I did put is when the king entered Lord Corley's castle, I was like, this is giving me weird Red Wedding vibes, man. Is he about to get murked right now? I thought for sure that like that was how they're going to kill him because clearly it was leading up to him dying soon anyway. I was like, that'd be a really weird way to like just kind of kill him off and see what happens. Obviously, that's not what happened, but I wrote it.
No, I'm with you. You felt like something was going to happen. I thought for sure what it was going to be was Allison outing, but
yep.
that didn't quite happen. There
Nope.
was there's some little interesting, little tidbits, little on the nose. Do you know what color they wear when they go into war? Green, like.
Oh yeah, I put that note. Yeah, so she clearly interrupts the. I mean, we can talk about the beginning of the wedding. Damon returns again. House Valerian sitting at the table, looking fancy, and then Allison shows up in the middle of the king's welcome speech, and she looked like Princess Fiona. Immediately, I was like, "Boom! That's the dress. That's Princess Fiona from the Shrek movies. That's exactly what she looks like."
Back-to-back Princess Fiona references. If you guys didn't listen to the Marvel Stuff podcast,
I know, isn't that great?
Combo. You don't see that an awful lot.
I'm putting Easter eggs in each of my podcasts to see who's listening to both. Be like,
I am. I'm listening to both.
Nice.
As your beautiful co-host here.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right though. I didn't think about that, but now that I picture the dress, that's exactly what it looks like.
Yep.
This scene.
More Hightower nonsense where Hightower's uncle shows up and he's close to the front still, and there's more family dynamics there where she's being manipulated by her family still in a way, mostly just her dad.
Yeah, a lot of drama guff, the Damon and the uncle stuff. A lot of this stuff's going on. Honestly, I'm bummed. I should have seen it coming, but like in my head, I actually was. They kept talking about, Uncle, how great is this welcome party? Imagine how great the wedding was going to be, and I like wanted to see the wedding, but I should have known they're not going to like create a whole nother set piece to have a giant wedding.
They have so much money; it's not impossible for them to make another set piece.
They weren't going to film a whole nother scene with all the same people to just do the same plot points. It didn't make sense.
I guess you have a point, but that's putting it in reality too much.
I know.
It's a fantasy show.
Because I did want to see. I wanted to see it, but when you think about the actual logistics,
well,
should have seen it coming.
Damon's sitting at the head table. He's getting the stink eye from Sir Gerald, which was apparently his late wife's uncle, I believe.
Yeah, I care so little about that.
I know, but like there was some ballsy accusations just rolling up to the head table, like, "Yo, you murdered my family."
I did like the Damon response. He's like, that's cool and all. Mm-hmm. That's great. I murdered her and whatever, but like I get all her stuff, right?
Oh my god, I put Damon says, "Fuck you, pay me." It's like that was fantastic. Though Damon's such a good character. He's not used in the last couple episodes as much as I'd like him to be, but he's obviously
he's used plenty.
Not in this episode.
It does set up for sure. I mean, now that he's got another little well, not another, because he sort of gave up his last one. Now that he has a fortress and on a place to set up. I think it's going to be an interesting little.
Yeah, how many kingdoms does this guy need? Because I feel like this is his third one that he says like he's gonna take over. Because he took over what was it, Dragonstone? He already had stake in the Vale, and now which is the same one. So I guess he's got like
Which has
two
the
home
veil.
bases. Yeah, I don't know what's
I
going
think he
on. Who
gave back the dragon stone. I
Dragonstone
think
to
is what it
who?
says. It's
Who
back to
like?
the kingdom. That's the whole thing with the crown, and he walked in and added
Yeah,
to the.
I guess, but like, who's the like? Why can't he be the king of that place? It's the Targaryen like household.
Yeah, I know. It'll be
Whatever, it's fine.
that will be interesting, but I think now we know that that's what he's going to be. He's going to post up there for his little whatever part he plays. I'm so fascinated by how all this stuff's going to go
Yeah, well, we
because
already took
this
down some
time
of the
jump.
little pieces, so let's just break down like exactly what happened at the wedding and like what political things spinning out of this are you most interested in like developing in future episodes? Because there are a few things here and there. Like clearly, I put Kristen Cole's a fucking menace now because he caved dude's face in. Like they didn't focus on it, which is very unlike Game of Thrones. They only showed you a quick half a shot of it, but his face was completely caved in from him pounding on
Oh
him.
yeah,
And I was like, woof, dude.
the
That was a
Damon
lot.
stuff I think is the most interesting
Damon,
going
okay.
forward. Um, I don't super care about Valeria and Rhaenyra being together. I think we will see them jump forward and they will be together. But I think there's a chance that that marriage only lasts like 2 episodes.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, what's his name? Laner might go full sad boy and just like kind of toss himself off a castle or something. I mean, it's one of those
yeah,
type of
that's
things.
also that's entirely possible though.
I
Like the
could
time
definitely
jump could.
see that happening because he no longer has the man he was in love with, and now, from what they're gonna live in King's Landing, and he hasn't spent hardly any time there, so he's automatically kind of like an outsider there, and then now he's the king consort, so he's got a lot
I
going
don't know.
on.
I think he'll be around a little bit. I think there's a chance. I think they'll have at least a kid or two together.
I
Um,
mean, just yeah, I could see that too. So, well, I mean, we'll see what happens to the queen currently. What happens to Alicent? Have we seen what really happens? Because when the Baratheon boys take over, they're not married. So, I mean, what's it? Cersei kind of just serves as the queen in a way.
that's an interesting question because I think if this episode took place, not this episode, but the next episode. Look, we know the next episode is a time jump and a pretty significant one.
Yeah, I think it's like 10 years, something like that.
Um, so it's a very good question because if the next episode was like the next day in the next 2 years, like very classic Game of Thrones, I'd be very interested in what's going on with Alicent and the Queen and all that stuff. But like, how is that intrigue going to continue after a 10-year time jump? Are we supposed to
What
just like believe
happens
she's
when
sitting on a secret? Like,
she's
what
not
power does she have?
exactly? She's not a powerful character. She doesn't have a lot of clout behind her. She was essentially just like the king's second wife that needed to pop out a couple of
But
airs.
her
She wasn't.
kids, I mean, her
Her
kids are
kids are
like
important.
10 years from now. There's, I mean, I think it's going to jump into immediately
15,
like
16. Yeah, I mean,
her
kind of.
10, 12-year-old boy is going to be
I mean, he's not 10 or
like
12 at this
probably
point.
being
He's like
influenced by
4,
her.
isn't he? Isn't Alicent like 4? Or Alicent's son
I
like
don't.
4? It's. I think
Do
he's
we
pretty
know that
young
it's a
still.
10-year time jump? It might. I don't know that.
No, no, no.
I
I
don't think
mean,
it is that.
I think it's 10 or 15, but we'll see. I mean, obviously.
Between 10 and 15 years old, this kid will be. Probably closer to like 15 or older. But I think she'll be like very Cersei from the original. She's just going to be there, probably in Hightown, maybe
Is
trying
she
to like.
alive? Are they gonna? Yeah, I mean, she seems like she's just gonna get booted from King's Landing because what? She's not the queen anymore. She doesn't get the queen's chambers. She really serves no purpose at this point other than being the queen's stepmom, and it's not like their relationship's thriving anymore. So, at this point, it's her kids that are the ones that have any sort of relevance to the story, and
But I
I
think she
imagine they're
will
gonna
have
live with.
relevance through that. I think she'll have relevance through her kids' relevance.
Are the kids
And I
gonna
do
stay
think
in King's Landing? Or are they gonna get booted too?
I have no
I
idea.
mean, they
I
might
really
go
have no idea.
like Sansa, kind of how she got sent over as like a parlay to learn the politics of King's Landing. I could see the kid kind of staying there and the mom.
Yeah, I think there's a
Yeah,
chance that that's what the time jump will start like at some time of like the son's marrying some other powerful house and they're starting
right.
their little
I could see that.
coup, I guess you'd call it. that's probably about where the time will come back in.
Yep. Well, last little notes here. Obviously, there was a pretty sweet little skirmish. Don't have a wedding in Westeros. I think that's the rule we're all learning. So if you're gonna
No,
do it,
it's a good
do
wedding.
it.
I would have a bigger wedding. Have a bigger wedding. Do it even
Yeah,
better.
that's
That's
the move.
the
Yep.
key is
Just
to make
keep
sure you're
hoping
the
for the
one hosting
best.
the wedding. Don't be a
Uh,
guest.
but it ends up the wedding's only the parents and the kids, and the vows are read. Clearly, no one's really into each
To
other.
crying people who don't want to be there.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. It shows the king. Most certainly, that's him dying.
Yeah, I mean, what are they going
That's
to do in
whatever.
the next
I mean,
episode? He's dead. I mean, it didn't
he
show
is.
him dying, but
Oh,
even
for
if he
sure.
dies like 3 days later, I mean, we're not going to see that. So that's the end of that character.
I think they'll say he died on the wedding.
I liked
Be
his
honest.
introspective thing though, where he was like saying that he
Am I a
felt
good
like
king?
he was a good king, but not a great king, or however he phrases it, because he served the
He didn't-
realm in a way, but he didn't do anything that made waves. He was just kind of like a placeholder,
Yeah,
the
a very
descendant
ancient
of his father or
Spartan, okay.
whatever, or grandfather. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting issue that a lot of people, a lot of people in power
I
throughout like
I-
actual human history
Yeah, to make that the
did,
like
did a lot of
correlated
terrible things.
to real life is just, it is weird that you graze over so many. Like, can you imagine, like, think how many presidents have there been now? I mean, it doesn't actually matter, but just how many do you actually know off the top of your head? Like 15, 20? Yeah, I mean, if you're lucky. Yeah. Exactly. That's what I mean. Like, they were in charge of the most powerful country in the world, and then all of a sudden, we don't know them anymore. So that kind of feels like that's.
I mean, yeah,
what's
it's the
applying
same
here.
thing. It's exactly right. It's like he did all the great leaders of Greece and stuff. It's like, I mean, no
Is
one
your name
cares unless
Leonidas?
you-
No. Okay. Well, no one
No,
cares then.
okay, exactly. Did you unless you did something really cool, unless you were Caesar and I
Were you talking
over a
nonsense,
bunch of
doing some
land.
philosopher stuff? No. Did you write plays? No. All right. Well, I guess you didn't exist. It's kind of your whole
Yes,
thing.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly right, though. Like we
Yep.
just don't care about kings who just sat and were peaceful. We just don't. It doesn't make the history books. So, but is that a bad thing? I don't know. But I thought it was an interesting conversation for sure. And I'm gonna miss him. I'm gonna miss the king for sure. He was one of my 2 or 3 favorite
He
characters.
felt like he was kind of an anchor that kept things grounded. It feels like as soon as his absence is felt, the realm is going to suffer for it. They've already been hinting at a million times that everyone's going to be up in arms about Rhaenyra taking over instead of the sun. Whatever.
I know.
I don't think that's
It
even
makes
the
me
main
just-
issue. I think there's a lot more going on beyond what the realm thinks of them. It's going to be what they all think of each other and the inner house relationships, and it's going to be
I just
weird.
wish the time jump wasn't happening yet. Is that
It's
weird?
inside
I'm
baseball.
gonna say it right now. Let's say right now, I wish that the time jump wasn't happening right now. I want
I mean,
to see.
I'm with you because I love these. I mean, I think it's only really the 2 girls, and
I
probably
don't care about the actors. The actor thing's
I
whatever.
like the actors.
I'm gonna. I don't mind them too. I love them. I think they're awesome. I want the story to be. I don't know. It's hard because Game of Thrones was so slow and took so long. I didn't watch it as it came out, so I can't.
Yeah,
speak
I didn't
to
watch it
but watching
until the season before the last season is when I streamed through all of them, and then I watched the new season as it came out.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what I did. But like, streaming the show and just watching it binge style, I'm so glad it took forever for everything to happen. And this show just doesn't feel like that. I want to know, like, right now, how is everyone going to react to Rhaenyra being king? Because King's dead. Rhaenyra's taken over. But, like, we're just going to have to wait 10 years and be like, yeah, people have been pissed for 10 years. That's late.
Yeah, time jumps are always so weird in shows because it's implied character development. It's George R. R. Martin, so I can't call it lazy because he really was trying to just talk about the history of that family in the Fire and Blood book. But at the same time, it's like clearly a lot happened in this time period, and it sucks that we're jumping this far.
I mean, the show, I feel like the show could have done whatever it wanted. It could have.
Yeah,
They
I
just
mean,
weren't ready.
they didn't want to go off page again. That didn't work out so well when they were doing Game of Thrones. But George R. R. Martin's pretty heavily involved, so you
Yeah,
could have just had him write some more stuff with it. But whatever it is, I mean, happens. That's kind of the end of the episode, though. Coach, did you have anything else you wanted to say about House of the Dragon this week? We Light the Way. That was the name of this one. We Light the
I think
Way.
I just really liked the episode. It was fun. I think it sets up for the future episode. It's not my favorite episode, not even close, but the intrigue that was developed, I'm excited about. And
It was better than She-Hulk episode 5. That's for sure.
that's true. Boom.
Boom.
going.
Right back. Go to the Marvel Stuff
Roasted.
Podcast. Check it out. Love you guys. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you again, Coach, for checking it out. And we'll see you
Yeah,
guys
absolutely. Let's get. I'm pumped for
next
the next
week.
episode. That's for sure.